again, kiddos, and welcome to Martin Luther and his fight that led the Protestant Reformation. This is just some background knowledge to go with what we were working in class today. So one of the most important events in history that some historians will argue, especially if you believe the Reformation is a game changer, was this nailing of the 95 Theses to the church door in Wittenberg. Martin Luther, that is his protest against the indulgences. He is challenging the Pope's authority. Pope Leo X is currently the Pope in charge of the Catholic Church, and when Luther nails the 95 Theses, it's a direct challenge to his authority. We talked about the causes of the Reformation. So Luther is, with all of these, Luther is the religious reason, but remember we have political reasons. For example, the kings and queens not wanting to have the Pope over them. We have economic reasons, usury, the taxes going to Rome. All these issues are bubbling up to the surface. And when Luther nails that 95 Thesis, this is going to start this huge change, which we talked about in class today. So one of the things to remember is that Luther is protesting at a time when the church is building this beautiful church in St. Peter's Basilica. Remember, we talked about that. It's one of the things that Mrs. Keating has on her bucket list. You have a wonderful salesman in Germany named John Tetzel. John Tetzel had this wonderful quote, and I can't remember it right now, every time a dime hits the barrel, a soul goes to heaven. He's the first salesman. He is selling this indulgence, this idea that the Pope will grant you salvation into heaven, and if you purchase this indulgence, which is raising money for the church, it's going to get you or your dead relative into heaven. And Luther, who is very devout, very religious, he believes that this is wrong information and the Pope is leading the people wrong. So he begins to protest the 95 Theses. He chooses October 31st in the night, and he comes up and he pounds the thesis to the church door of Wittenberg. And his goal at this point is not to leave the Catholic Church. He's very faithful. He wants to just fix the problem. And he goes because November 1st is a holy day. He knows in the morning people will be coming to the church. He posts his 95 Thesis, which is his 95 complaints. People take that paper and they begin to use the printing press and they begin to copy it, and his ideas and his questioning spread. You need to know these three because these are the big three of Luther's teachings, and these are big changes. One, Luther says justification by faith alone. That means the way I get to heaven is all I have to do is if I believe in God. The Catholic Church is saying you need to believe in God and you need to do good works. Luther is saying the way I get to heaven is if I believe in God, God grants me salvation. So I just have to believe. Luther is also challenging church teachings. He is saying the Bible is the only source for religious truth. If I want to know what is true, I need to go to the Bible, which is revolutionary because if the Bible is the only source of religious truth, one of the things you're going to see develop in the Protestant community is this idea that people need to learn their religion, learn the truth by reading the Bible themselves. So this is going to be, this statement here really gets people to begin to learn to read, and he's going to translate the Bible into the common language for this. And this is a big one, number 3, probably one of the more extraordinary ones. All humans are equal before God. In the Catholic tradition, you had vocations, and only the clergy had a vocation, a calling. Teaching is a calling. Nursing is a calling. This is something special you do. Well, Luther is saying back in the time of Luther, a vocation was the priest and the nuns and the brothers. The clergy had the vocation and the people did not. And Luther was saying everybody has that calling. Everybody has that service before God, so that when I go in front of God, I'm the same as the priest. I'm the same as the noble. I'm the same. All of us have that vocation. And this is revolutionary. Everybody equal before God. People begin to say, well, if I'm equal before God, what makes somebody above me in society? And that's going to be a revolutionary changing. That is a very powerful statement. All humans are equal before God. What is Pope Leo X's response to Luther? He's going to crush him like a bug. Because remember, the church has always had the power to do that. And the power they have is by declaring somebody a heretic. And one of the things you do is you excommunicate them. Remember, in the law, you had to belong to the church. He's going to kick Luther out of the church. But remember, Luther doesn't recognize the Pope's authority by 1520. Luther is in Germany. Does not exist. It's the Holy Roman Empire. It's part of the Habsburg Empire. The ruler of the Habsburg Empire is Charles V. Charles V is King of Spain. He is the Holy Roman Emperor. So what you have is you have all these little princes of Germany, all these little like city-states. So you had all these little countries, over 200 little city-states in what makes up modern Germany. Charles V is over them, giving the Pope the power, put Charles V over these princes in Germany. He calls Luther to defend his ideas. Luther is told to recant his beliefs. The Pope is the authority. Recant those beliefs about justification, about the Bible, humans equal before God, except the Pope. Luther refuses. At this point, Charles V makes Luther an outlaw. He is an outlaw. At this point, it's still a religious conflict. He makes him an outlaw, and he issues the Edict of Worms, which says that Luther is a heretic. He is to be arrested and killed, and anyone who helps Luther can be killed. But this is where you have the political. Prince Frederick the Wise is one of these small princes in this area of the Holy Roman Empire. He is Saxony. Remember that in one of the causes, the monarchs don't like being ruled by the Pope. Prince Frederick helps Luther escape, and he hides Luther. And because Prince Frederick, if he's Protestant, he doesn't have to obey Charles V, because the Catholic Pope put Charles V as king. Now all of a sudden, I don't recognize the power of the Pope. So Prince Frederick the Wise, he goes and he helps Luther escape. And he hides Luther. And Luther, while he's in hiding, will translate the Bible into German, which is going to be very important, because once the Bible gets translated into German, other people are going to be translating the Bible into their language. And remember, giving people the power to read, and they're now making their religious decisions as opposed to the priests telling them what to think. The results of Luther's movement is the birth of the Protestant church. Notice the word protest. Luther starts this as a reform movement. He wants to fix the church. He's not able to. The groups that are going against the church get labeled as protesters. They are going to be the Protestants. Protestants is a Christian who is not Catholic. Both Catholics and Protestants believe in Jesus Christ being the Son of Man. They are both Christians, but Catholics are not Protestant. Protestants are those who broke with the Catholic Church. A lot of your princes in Germany, in the whole, well, modern day Germany, in the Holy Roman Empire, end up converting to this Protestant faith with the idea to challenge the Pope's authority. The Habsburgs, which will rule Spain and as a result will rule Latin America, will rule the Spanish colonies, and Austria will remain Catholic. So you will have this fighting develop, and you will actually, especially in the area of the Holy Roman Empire, you will have a war between Protestant and Catholics that will last for 30 years.